I do a lot with people who are pro-abortion. That's what I call them because that's what they truly are. And once they find out I'm Christian, they usually like to run to the Bible to think they can bring up abortion being in the Bible.
Mhm.
I kind of have like an idea to. They usually like to bring up Numbers 5:11 through
Yeah,
30.
that's pathetic. That's
Yeah,
not that's has nothing to do with a baby being aborted. I know.
exactly. Yeah, so I kind of like I have a general sense of how to respond, but I want to like know your perspective on it.
Yeah, I mean, what's there to respond? The text is clear unless you're reading NIV, which is everything.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would usually say that actually nowhere in that scripture, because I've read it before a couple of times, even with these people who bring it up, nowhere in that passage does it ever mention a woman being pregnant.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It has nothing to do with a miscarriage or nothing to do with aborting a child. It has to do with drinking a mixture that if the woman has committed adultery, then her thigh will become swollen as a sign that she's lying under oath. Now, just to tell you how stupid the argument is, let's just go with their logic. They're saying, well, here it's talking about, having the baby aborted. What relevance does having a baby aborted have to do with the woman committing adultery?
Right.
The
Exactly.
the context is the woman is being accused of adultery, right?
Right.
But she's lying about it. And then how do you know she's lying about it? Well, you're going to drink this mixture that is commanded by God, and when she drinks it, a sign she's lying, that mixture will cause her to swell, right?
Yes.
Now, my question to you, I want you to think critically with me. How does aborting a baby prove or disprove her adultery? Because how do you know that baby wasn't conceived by her husband?
It doesn't make sense.
Number two, how does her not having a baby that's aborted prove she didn't commit adultery?
Yeah.
Did you understand what I just said?
Yeah, it's like it's gonna punish the baby and not the woman.
No, that's not what I asked you. How does her not having a baby to abort through that mixture prove she didn't commit adultery? In other words, if we go with the logic of these idiots, that means that if she's conceived a child and the child is aborted, that's proof of her committing adultery. How does that make sense? So what if she didn't get pregnant through adultery and she drinks the mixture and nothing happens? So that means she didn't commit adultery?
That doesn't make sense.
So how does aborting a baby or no baby being conceived to be aborted prove or disprove her adultery?
It wouldn't.
So what relevance would there be for God to prescribe a mixture to kill an unborn baby as a sign that she's committed adultery? Well, what if she's not pregnant? Then that means that baby will not swell and then she'd miscarry or whatever, or aborted. Does that mean then she didn't commit adultery? You see how stupid this logic is?
Yeah, and even like going to verse 28, but if the woman has not defiled herself and is clean, then she should be free and may conceive children.
So that's my whole point. What does the mixture got to do, right? If the mixture is supposedly to abort a baby, that's their argument, right?
Their supposed argument, but they don't read anything.
No, that's what I'm saying. Let's go with it. Okay, so the baby will be aborted. Well, how do you know the baby is the result of adultery and not the husband causing her to conceive? What has aborting the baby got to do with proving her innocence or confirming her guilt? Maybe the baby is conceived by her husband. So then why abort the baby? Let's say she's pregnant, the baby is aborted. How does that then prove her guilt? Maybe the baby was conceived by the husband. Or what if she's not pregnant and she committed adultery? And then she gets the mixture and she doesn't swell, meaning there is no baby that's terminated. How does that prove she didn't commit adultery? Can you
That's
help me
awesome.
understand the logic?
I wish I could help you any more,
The
brother.
swelling, in other words, her swelling has nothing to do with a baby. The mixture, if she is guilty of adultery, will cause her irreparable damage in her uterine so she cannot conceive. And that will be the sign that she has committed adultery. In other words, if she swells, that means God is showing she committed adultery. So her punishment is she won't conceive children from that moment on, not aborting a baby. But if she doesn't swell up, that's because God protected her from having her uterine damaged by the mixture, because she's not guilty and God will allow her to mother children.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's exactly
Do you
what
understand
I
what the
was
mixture
going
is
to say.
for? The
Yes.
mixture is only made efficacious by the power of God. In other words, if God knows she's committed adultery, but she's lying, so what he's going to do is he's going to have her drink the mixture and then cause that mixture to damage her uterine so she can't have children. And that will be proof of her guilt. You get it?
So she's not able to conceive,
That's right.
that would prove her guilty. She's
Yeah,
guilty.
meaning that when she swells up, that means damage has now occurred internally to her internal organs or uterine, which means she was guilty of adultery. Now God's punishment is you will not conceive children, because no adulterous whore will be the mother of any child. You understand him? I
That's
can't move
awesome.
on if you're not getting it.
Yes, yes, I'm taking notes.
But
I'm
if
writing things
she
down.
does not swell, meaning the mixture does not damage her uterine, that's why it goes on to say that she'll be able to conceive and have children, meaning she's not guilty, because that mixture, God will either cause the mixture to damage her insides or prevent it from damaging her, right?
Yes.
Because we're dealing with a miraculous act, a mixture that God will either cause to damage her insides so she can't conceive because she's guilty of adultery and she tried to hide it, or God in his power will prevent the mixture from doing any damage. It's like, for example, when Jesus says, you'll drink poison, it won't harm you. Remember one of the signs of the apostles? He says, you will drink poisons and it will not harm you. Remember Mark 16? Do I have to explain that to you too, sister?
No, no, no. I know, brother.
Or and
Exactly.
you'll pick
That's
up
exactly
snakes
right.
and they won't harm you, right?
Correct.
What does that mean? God will miraculously protect us from the harmful effects of, let's say, poison or snakes. So similarly, just like that's a miraculous act, like in Acts 28, Paul at Malta, a viper bit him, and he just threw the viper into the fire and no harm. And the people freaked out thinking, man, he must be a god. No, that was God miraculously protecting Paul from the harmful, venomous bite of a viper. Similarly to this woman. If the woman is innocent, then God will miraculously prevent the mixture from damaging her inside. You with me there?
Yes.
But if she is guilty, then God will allow the mixture to destroy her inside, her uterine, so she will not mother children for lying about adultery, even though she took an oath.
That's awesome. Thank
So
you
what does that got
so
to do
much.
with abortion? So to make it a little simpler, because I know maybe it was a little complicated. A woman who commits adultery doesn't get pregnant necessarily, right?
Correct.
Okay, so a woman, let's say I'm married to some Jane Doe. My wife Jane commits adultery, but she doesn't get pregnant. And I suspect she's committing adultery. So we go before the priest, and she swears before God she didn't. Now she takes the mixture. If we go with the logic of these idiots, nothing will happen to her. There'll be no swelling because there's no child to be aborted, right?
Correct.
So that means, according to these idiots, she didn't commit adultery. Of course she did. So what does a child in her womb being aborted or not got to do with her innocence or guilt? Because not every woman who commits adultery gets pregnant.
That is correct.
So what does this passage have to do with a child being aborted when the point is to try to prove the woman's innocence or guilt of adultery? And not everyone who commits adultery gets pregnant.
Exactly. They just like to read a lot of things into the passage.
So you got that, sister?
Yes, thank you.
Now, the NIV doesn't help you, though. The NIV is one of the worst translations. NIV will give you a commentary where it makes it hard. For example, you said Numbers 5:11, right?
Yes, 5:11 to 30.
Have you read NIV, how it renders it?
No, I have New King James.
Check it out. Can someone look at the NIV, see how it renders it?
Yes, I'm looking at it.
Just read it.
Then the Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, if man's wife goes astray and is unfaithful to him, so that another man has sexual relations with her, and this is hidden from her husband, and her impurity is undetected, since
See?
there is no
Undetected,
witness against her."
right?
Yep, yep. And she has not been caught in the act.
Hold on one
And
second.
if,
1 second, sister.
sure,
Reread that part again because I had my earplugs off.
sure. Um, since there is no witness against her, and she has not been caught in the act. And if feelings of jealousy come over her husband, and he
He
suspects
senses
his
something
wife,
wrong. Yeah, yeah. He
yep,
suspects her.
and is impure, yep, yeah, or if he is jealous and suspects her, even though she is not impure, then he is to take his wife to the priest. Then he must also take an offering of a tenth of an fate of barley flour on her behalf. He must not pour olive oil on it or put incense on it, but it is a grain offering for jealousy, a reminder offering to draw attention to wrongdoing. Then the priest shall bring her and have her stand before the Lord.
So now God
And
is going to be a witness there, right?
yep, then
Go
he
ahead.
shall take some holy water in a clay jar and put some dust from the tabernacle floor into the water. After the priest has had the woman stand before the Lord, he shall loosen her hair and place in her hands the reminder offering, the grain offering for jealousy, while he himself holds the bitter water that brings a curse. Then the priest shall put the woman under oath and say to her, if no other man has had sexual relations with you, and you have not gone astray and become impure while married to your husband, may this bitter water that brings a curse not harm you.
So
But
did you
if you have
catch it?
gone, yep,
It's a prayer. If you're guiltless, may this bitter water not harm you, and God will make sure it doesn't harm you, right?
yep.
Now keep reading.
But if you have gone astray while married to your husband, and you have made yourself impure by having sexual relations with a man other than your husband, here the priest is to put the woman under this curse. May the Lord cause you to become a curse among your people when he makes your womb miscarry and
You
your
see, you
abandoned
see
well.
how
Yeah,
evil this
like with the
filthy
baby.
translation is?
Yeah, like she's pregnant with the baby.
Now let me read to
Um,
you the New King James.
mm-hmm,
You're reading verse 21. The Lord make you a curse and an oath among your people, and Jehovah makes your thigh rot and your belly swell.
mm-hmm.
You see how the NIV rendered it?
Yeah, your womb miscarry.
You see how what an evil translation this NIV is?
Mm-hmm.
So keep reading all the way to the end. You're at 21, sister.
Yep. May this water that brings a curse enter your body so that your abdomen swells or your womb miscarries. Man.
And it
Again.
doesn't say womb, it says thigh rot.
Yeah. Then the woman is to say, Amen, so be it. The priest is to write these curses on a scroll and then wash them off into bitter water. He shall make the woman drink the bitter water that brings a curse, and this water that brings a curse and causes bitter suffering will enter her. The priest is to take from her hands the grain offering for jealousy, wave it before the Lord, and bring it to the altar. The priest is then to take a handful of the grain offering as a memorial offering and burn it on the altar. After that, he is to have the woman drink the water. If she has made herself impure and been unfaithful to her husband, this will be the result. When she is to make to drink the water that brings a curse and cause bitter suffering, it will enter her, her abdomen will swell, and will cause her womb to miscarry.
Do you see what
And
an
she will,
evil, wicked
man,
translation NIV is? And let me read 27, the New King James. Now watch. When he has made her drink the water, this verse 27, then it shall be, if she has defiled herself, behaved unfaithfully toward her husband, that the water that brings a curse will enter and become bitter, and her belly will swell, her thigh will rot, and the woman will become a curse among her people.
mhm,
Keep going.
man. If, however, the woman has not made herself impure, but is clean, she will be cleared of guilt and will be able to have children.
Now, before you move on, clearly the context is that this mixture is going to do damage internally to her uterine, so she cannot get pregnant. She commit
Hmm.
adultery. It's not that there's a baby and God's going to kill the baby.
Correct.
But your NIV, being wicked, translate as she's already pregnant
Miscarried.
and he's
Yeah.
going to cause the baby to be killed.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
This is what they're using. NIV is an evil translation. It is. I'm sorry. I know it's going to
Hmm.
hurt people because they do stuff like this in passages Where if you look at the context and the Hebrew words, there's nothing in the Hebrew words or the context that talks about a womb miscarrying.
Yep. Wow. That's
Now finish it. Read
super.
28 to 20, all the way to 30, 31. 28 to
This
31.
then, 28. Yep, 29. Then this is the law of jealousy when a woman goes astray and makes herself impure while married to her husband, or when feelings of jealousy come over a man because he suspects his wife. The priest is to have her stand before the Lord and is to apply this entire law to her. The husband will be innocent of any wrongdoing, but the woman will bear the consequences of her sin.
So clearly, what the passage is a woman trying to cover up her adultery. And how is God going to expose her? Because that mixture will then be used by God to cause her internal damage. He's going to destroy her uterine. And the sign is her womb will swell and her thigh will rot, meaning he's going to shut down her uterine so she does not conceive because of adultery. But if not, God will protect her from the mixture. So this is a miraculous act of God acting upon the mixture, because the mixture in of itself is not going to do anything.
Yep,
It has
that's
nothing to do with her being pregnant and then God using the mixture to cause her to miscarry.
that's awesome. Thank you for that, Sam.